Hello and welcome to season 2, episode 2 of Rewind with Ro. I am your host, Ro Carter.
I'm Rob Smith.
My co-host, look at him smiling. Happy Black History Month, brother. How are you?
I'm great. Happy Black History Month to you too.
Yes. There's a lot of things going on in the world right now to start off Black History Month. What have you been up to? What are you going to do this month to celebrate Black History Month?
Well, this month, in honor of Black History, I celebrate my birthday.
Oh. Oh, that's right. Was it 17, 16, 18, 11?
17th. My sister.
Yeah, first time. 17. Nice job.
Oh, you got it right. My sister's the 15th and I'm the 17th. So, we ring in Black History Month right.
Is she older or younger?
Younger. She's 9 years younger.
Oh, okay. So it's still your birthday.
I owned it for longer.
But there was a period when it's a younger kid, it's like 3 or 4 or 5, it's like, oh, it's her birthday. And then, later when you get 9 years, yeah, when you're 13, 14, they don't care about you anymore.
Well, it was interesting. My parents did a good job of making sure that we had our own birthdays and that we owned our birthdays. Like the 17th was mine, the 15th was hers. So we celebrated separately, and we got, they weren't trying to make me party with a 1-year-old when I was turning 10.
All her friends coming over like, ah!
Right.
I can't do this, Mom. I'm 10. Before we move on, what's the best gift you got for a birthday gift in your whole entirety of being on this planet? It's the best gift. Was it an adult gift or was it a kid gift? What was the best gift you ever got?
I don't even, it's been so long since I've gotten a gift. I don't even remember.
Give Rob a gift, please.
I don't get gifts anymore. It was at like 25. People were like, okay, he's grown. We don't need to give him anything. So the gift just stopped. And I don't want to say how long that's been because I don't need to tell everybody how old I am.
Okay. All right. No judgments here. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the news. This is my own private feeling about it. I'll be quick in 2 seconds. There's been a lot of controversy with Tyree, the young black man that was killed by 5 black men who were cops, and also another white officer. Still waiting for that charge to happen. You can say whether it's race or whether it's police. Blue Lives Matter. There's a lot of stuff going on. The one thing I wanted to speak on is that, and this is my own opinion, there's some ignorant brothers out there that are saying, faulting black women, black single women for this, and this is why these homes are broken. I am a person that came from a single parent home, my mom, and she always busted her ass and taught me the right things, I shouldn't be doing. Those things were there that I could get in trouble, but she said, hey, where's it going to get you? So she told me that at a young age. So I want to give shout out to all the single moms out there that bust their ass and do everything for their children. So again, ignorant statement made. I'm really disappointed that energy has to be put into the universe right now. Again, especially coming into Black History Month. And we got to do better, people, across the board. I mean, you got to protect us. And you're not, as taxpayers. I think, please. That's all I got to say about that. I don't know if you wanted to add anything or just.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the ignorance of the person who made that comment, that was more of the black people, though that segment of black news anchors or political figures who pander to they pander to a segment of the white community that lives in the realm of denying that racism exists. So they pander to that sector of that community and try and get that's all for clicks. And he's playing the Candace Owens playbook, in my opinion. So
when he was his name to give any love to him. So
not at all. That's why I'm not wasting my time with it, because he's pandering to that audience and trying to get clicks and trying to get, trying to trend on Twitter for people for saying something that's ignorant and despicable. While this family hadn't even laid their son to rest yet, or their son, their brother, their father, they hadn't even laid him to rest yet. And they're dealing with the ignorance of that on a global news platform. Like, I just think it's disgusting. And yes, there needs to be a reform on a greater scale. the way that, you know, the policing system is failing the Black community in a major way. And this is yet another sign of it. I think we're all sick of it. We're all sick of having these conversations. We're all sick of more names being added to the list.
Yeah.
And at some point, there needs to be a conversation where everyone can sit at the table and say, you know what, there does need to be reform, and we need to have, you know, a way to regulate the behavior of these people who are supposed to be put in positions to protect and serve. And some of those regulations need to come in the form of, like, if officers are transitioned from one city to another, their record of their performance and the things they've done needs to proceed them getting there, so that people can make educated decisions on if this is a person they want to bring into their department. Like, there just needs to be reform in a greater way that, you know, safeguards the people who are supposed to be protected, which is us.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say in this, and the only positive thing that came out of this, if there's anything to find positive about it, is that now we know when an officer is involved in committing a heinous crime, that it can be processed and done within 2 weeks. It doesn't take all these months to get dealt with. And so that's the only positive thing that I took out of this, is like, oh, wow, this can be done in a fast and speedy process. And so the BS that constantly goes on, you know, behind the scenes, you know, that family sticks together, they look out for each other. It's now saying, oh, well, you know, we can actually get this done in 1 to 2 weeks and find out what's going on. We have the videotape and all that stuff. So it really just, it hurt me on so many levels, because what, last year we had someone's knee on his neck, and that man changed the world. Almost 2 years now, right? And so to see this again, as disgusting as that was, and no one's learning from it. Like, where's the memo? Like, where, like, you know, a company I used to work for, if someone did something stupid, there was a memo that went out the next day and said, hey, you know what? Please be mindful of this and don't do this next time. It's like, nah, it's a different precinct. We don't do that here. So anyway, yes, moving on from the idiocracy of that. But let's get into some positive energy now, transitioning.
Yes.
We have an amazing movie. I mean, there's so many people in this movie. I loved it. It was like a better house party, right? Is that what?
Let's not even go there.
But anyway, it's called You People. It started on Netflix, actually #1. It's trending, ladies and gentlemen. Trending. This movie takes a comedic look of an interracial relationship and the cultural differences that are highlighted and sometimes ignored with their lives. Everything seems to be going well until they meet each other's families. And then you see the chaos that unfolds. Starring Jonah Hill, he plays Ezra, a Jewish kid, and Lauren London. Everybody knows Lauren London. She plays a young lady coming from a Muslim background. So we get to see this black and white, but also relationships, how much family kind of gives their 2 cents in kind of messing up your life or helping it out. And I love this movie because you had a conversation that it's been a while to have the conversation of like, hey, what's going on? Was it worse for Jewish people? Was it worse for Black people? Can we make it through? Do we understand what's really going on this planet right now, especially in this social climate? So I personally love this. I have some questions for you, Rob, as we go, but I wanted to see what your thoughts were on the movie.
Well,
loved it.
I know it's like a drum roll. I adored this movie. I thought it was perfectly executed. It's written in conjunction by Kenya Barris and Jonah Hill. Like, where can you go wrong with these 2 people coming together to create something? Like there was no way I was walking into this film thinking there was a possibility there was a failure in it, because it just has these 2 geniuses attached to it. So I absolutely loved it. I enjoyed how they brought like generational differences, culture, and religion to the table as the main catalyst for issues between this couple who, for all intents and purposes, were an odd couple from the eyes of everyone else in the world. But to them, they were each other's person. But everybody else's opinion from, like, again, like culture, religion, and generational divide seemed to cause a rift in their relationship. So I thought it was a beautiful take on like a love story. It was fun. It was funny. it was funny from the very beginning, and it was funny until the very end, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Boom, there we go. So we'll see where Rob's going to go on this. So, Rob, so here's the thing. I'm watching the movie. It came on Friday in the morning. We're chilling at home. We're just watching it during the day. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, interesting cast, right? And so what did you feel about Laura London and Jonah Hill kind of being love interest? Did that work for you? I mean, you liked the film, but was it at first you were like, okay, let me sit back and take this in, or were you like, nah, this ain't gonna work?
No, I loved it, and I think the ignorance of Twitter, the ignorance of people on Twitter, people show their true colors. People, a lot of us walk this world with preconceived notions of what we think is our partner should look like, should sound like, should dress like, what they're, who they should be from the perspective, like from all the superficial things, right? But then there are people who are open to the idea of finding love in the form that it comes to them. And this is evident from couples walking around in the world all over the place. We see people who aesthetically you might not have assumed would be together, but they are because they chose love over superficial, things that the world tell us that we should invest our energy and attention into. So for me, it wasn't a shock. What it was, I loved seeing that put on the screen for people to digest. And, it's a real depiction of what love looks like on a daily basis. Everybody doesn't look like a supermodel meets a supermodel and then they come together and have a baby.
Really?
I don't think so. I think there are people who, I see, muscular men with women who are slightly heavy set all the time. I see women who are like slim with guys who are slightly heavy set. I see, I've seen tall women with short men. I've seen so the reality is like we pretend like it's odd to see these two together, but I don't think so. I think we may overlook it when we're walking down the street on a daily basis, but I think that's more of the norm than we think.
That's true. So what did you think also of Jonah's character actually having a genuine love for a Black woman, right? It wasn't like a fetish or anything. And I love that personally. I was like, oh, I love this person for who she is. I'm going to find out later who she really is. But for the meantime, I normally it's like, oh, I want to taste of this just to see what that's like. But I kind of love that story was more of like, hey, I genuinely love and care about her.
Yeah, and I think they did a great job of introducing that at the very forefront of the film through his passion, which was his podcast, where it was about the culture, where he is this voice through in the podcasting world with his partner, and they talk about the culture, whether it's fashion or music or things that impact the culture. He was truly invested in that already, and not to say that he was like. And I think what they didn't do was treat him like a person who was like walking out in the street looking for a Black woman going, oh, that's what I want. I need a Black woman.
Yeah.
But he was just open to finding someone who he could relate to, who liked the things in life that he liked. So he wanted somebody who was interested in the culture. And, they show him go on a date with a woman who's Jewish and didn't work out because she was like, you want to do a podcast? That's stupid. Like she wasn't invested in the things that he loved. And then he bumps into randomly in a hilarious way into Lauren London. And then they have a lot in common. And it's a person that he can gel with, genuinely, and they like the same things. They're passionate about the same things. So I thought they did a great job at making that connection from the beginning without throwing it in your face make sense.
Yeah. And so onto the scene, we see legendary comedic, one of my favorite of all times, Eddie Murphy. And so when I see Eddie do a film, I'm like, ooh, okay, here we go. Oh man, hope this is good. But I love the Eddie Murphy I saw in this film. I love his intro. What was it? He was wearing the hoodie, saying what's name with the Black from the Black Panthers was murdered. Fred Turner was murdered, and then also he came into James Brown, and so that scene, and he's looking around like that old school Black man, like, man, what's going on? Everybody's hair is so soft now, curly. What's going on?
Everybody light skin with curly hair. What's going on?
Yeah, nice guy with flying.
While his kids, meanwhile, are
Exactly. Kids are all yeah. And so I love that he was able to be like a dad, like really get into that character. Him and Julia Louis-Dreyfus have so many moments together that it's just like unbelievable. Their comedic timing is amazing. What did you think, Eddie, on the screen? How to make it feel? Were you excited for him, or are you just like, let me just see it?
Yeah. I was not expecting his character to be as like, I don't want to say radical. His character was very like
very pro.
Yeah, he was super pro black, and that was interesting to me. That they didn't make it, it was almost to the point where it was like he was just kind of unaccepting of the idea. I like that they didn't make his parents the same way. His parents were like overbearing in a different way because they were like, we love black people. This is great. So it was like you didn't have two families who were like, we don't want our child dating somebody of the opposite race. It wasn't like that. So I think that was another thing that I enjoyed, the way the parents were like complete opposites, because Nia Long and Eddie Murphy were like, I don't know about this. And then his parents over there like, bring her in, let's have some black babies. This is gonna be great.
Oh my God. So that brings me up Nia Long. I wanted more. I don't think they gave her enough lines, right?
I know.
He just killed it. And The Best Man, the series on Peacock, I was like, can Nia Long get some lines, everybody? Can we get a black mom to be like, let's speak?
I'm glad you said that, because it was like they just kept giving us like a little taste of Nia Long, but she wasn't. We needed some more Nia Long. That's the one thing, because she was hilarious.
The gripe I have with this film, like I just need a little more, sprinkle a little more Nia Long in there.
Just a little more Nia Long.
Need to watch that. You did a great job. That's funny. So the characters develop and they wind up now. It's time to meet the parents, right? And kind of go from there. I really want to talk about parent relationships and how influential they are in kind of like deciding on who you're going to be with. And, and especially in certain cultures, she's coming from a Muslim culture. He's coming from a Jewish culture. I have a lot of Jewish friends back in New York. I mean, if they ain't Jewish, it's 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a whole like, woo, it's going to be very crazy. And so I think a lot of people ask, is it worth it? And you see Jonah Hill's character kind of go through that, right? The dating scene of oh my God, they don't get me and everything, but I want to make my parents happy and kind of go through that. So what did you think about that, and how much parents play a part in finding, who you really want to be with?
I thought it, of course, was a key player in the film. I think that was the 3 like pillars that I was talking about, where it was like, this generational understanding of what the parents' expectations were for their kids, and then you had culture and religion. So for like the expectation of parents, that was an interesting component, and I kind of just touched on it, but it was interesting how like Lauren London's character, from the very beginning, before she even goes on her first date with him, has this reservation about the idea of dating outside of her race because of the expectations put on her by her parents. And then him, I think he kind of thought that might have been there. He wasn't sure. Yeah. Because clearly he had never brought a black woman home, so he didn't know how his parents were going to react. So there was already a built-up expectation from him too. So I think they both walked into this relationship kind of keeping it a secret and guarding it from their families, because they didn't know what to expect from their families. But again, like as the relationship develops, it's problematic. It's problematic on both sides, but just in
no spoilers here. No spoilers.
Yeah, I'm not giving you any spoilers. It's problematic from both sides of the family perspective, but in such different ways. But yeah, I thought that was a very, very interesting way to approach it. And I mean, I think we all have that, right? Like I still to this day pretty much don't bring anybody home, and I'm old, but it's like I'm not bringing somebody into an environment or a culture that I don't think is going to be healthy for a relationship that I'm in. So I would just rather not deal with it. So
I love
I get
Thanksgiving. If you're gonna bring somebody home, Thanksgiving's the best time. You just get everybody one fell swoop, and everybody just went, oh, God. Oh, baby, come here. I'll never forget one of my boys on Thanksgiving one time. He was dating a girl for the first time, and he's Jewish, so his family they didn't really celebrate. That doesn't mean anything, but celebrate Thanksgiving the way like we celebrate Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
black folks, like 30 deep. That was my point in that. And
Yeah.
so we asked him to cut the cake, right? And when I tell you, he almost ruined Thanksgiving. He cut the cake and he jagged it, like
oh no.
Yeah. Every black woman in there was like, oh my goodness. And so his girl that he was dating there comes over and hugs him, like, it's all right, baby. And everybody's like, oh yes, she's the one. They're married now with 3 kids.
See, she should have, but see, I'm gonna blame her a little bit, bro. She should have gave him a tutorial and a few things. Like, you can't just throw him in and be like, go on, cut the cake.
Listen, I go anywhere for anybody's thing. I'm not cutting the cake. I'm not cutting
I could cut the cake. I could cut a cake now.
Listen, I am not cutting anything. You're gonna judge me. I'd rather see like how the head person cuts, and then like, okay, this is what the house is used to. You want to come in here and go in some, unless you're a chef, stick to the rules. Stick to the rules. That's all I'm saying. Play it safe.
Stay in your lane. Just stay in your lane. See, they were testing them though, which there's a little test going on in this film with Eddie Murphy and Jonah Hill.
And so I love, yeah, right. So Jonah Hill's character is trying to just get Eddie's character just, hey man, give me a break. I just want to fall in love with your daughter and spend the rest of my life with your daughter, and you are not making it easy, which I understand. And so and then the same part, Laura London, she's going through the same with his mom, like and his mom is worse, right? Because she's trying to fit in and be black in a way. And I'm like, just slow down and bringing up stuff. So there's 2 parts that I want to ask you. What was one of your favorite comedic parts, and what was one of your best like serious moments?
The Lauren London and when Lauren London and
he checks her, Julia
Louis-Dreyfus. Well, I can't believe I forgot her name for 2 seconds of my life. When Lauren London and Julia Louis-Dreyfus are in the car, when she's trying to develop a relationship with her independently, because Lauren London is like, well, maybe I'll spend time with your mom, you spend time with my dad, and we'll, figure it out. When they're in the car and she's singing, like trying to like be cool, I was on the floor, like on the floor. There's some really, really good, just gut-wrenching.
Good scenes, very funny. My favorite scene was David Duchovny. I don't want to give it too much away, but he just talks about some black stuff that you're just like, what? But it's hysterical. I was crying. I was like, so for me, he steals the movie. He really does. He steals the movie. Also the host that Jonah Hill does the show with.
Yes, she's really hilarious.
Yeah, I want to make sure I get her name correct.
Sam J.
Yeah, Sam J as Mo. She killed it. She was on point. And also his Eddie Murphy's, I don't know who he was, like a cousin or whatever, Omar. Taco, he plays Omar. Young kid, glasses, no, skinny guy, you know what I'm talking about? No. They went with him to Vegas. Remember on the plane? He was like, what's up, man? Skinny black guy? No? All right. Just kidding.
The son?
Was that the son?
The one who was he kind of looks
East
African? Yeah. That's he plays Lauren London's brother. That's the son. Or are you talking about
at some point he wasn't he was like talking to dad and then you're not talking to dad and then we're cool. Yeah, his son. Yes, you're right. So he was funny too. So there were a lot of things.
Mike Epps was hilarious.
Mike Epps shows up in the movie. There are a lot of people that come out of nowhere. Anthony Anderson, Dion Cole. So there are a lot of special people in the movie that you'll love it for that. I really had a good time on this. I would highly recommend watching it with a friend as well, family members, people that are you're trying to have that tough conversation. Trust me, there's a lot of conversations in this movie, and it's tough. It helps dissect that and break it down, and then there's a happy ending, right? So you really can be like, wow, how do they get through this? How am I getting through this? And then someone, should be able to see the similarities, like, oh wow, I'm doing this. Like, so if you're a parent that's overbearing to your kid, this is something for you to see and be like, oh wow, maybe I need to take a step back. If you're trying to find love in an interracial relationship, and it's just hard to try to understand the other side, this movie's for everyone basically, but it really can help you kind of have that tough conversation that I know it's kind of hard for people to have.
Yeah, and I really do like how they approached religion too, and how they brought these two families together who, of course, have like completely different, perspectives on the way they approach religion. And they have to deal with it at the dinner table. Then they have to deal with it like with planning the wedding. And it was just so, it was a fun roller coaster ride. And I literally was laughing the whole time. I also loved Lala Anthony. The bachelorette party was hilarious. Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Oh man,
know that.
What do you do? What do you
do
in that situation? Right? It's like, yeah, it's like, I don't know if it's gonna work. Yeah, your mom is too much for me.
It was great.
and shout out. I mean, this movie, it's kind of like a remake of everything. It's like 3 movies in one for me. The original Guess Who's Coming to Dinner with Sidney Poitier and Katharine Hepburn at the time, and then they did a reboot of Guess Who with Bernie Mac and Zoe Saldana and Ashton Kutcher. And then also it had a Meet the Fockers movie. Like, I could see another spinoff, right? They get married, they have kids, or maybe they go on a honeymoon. Like, I can see you making 2 more movies out of this. It was so good, and the characters were so solid that I want another one, right?
Absolutely. And then if we get another one, we get more Nia Long. So it's
can we get more Nia Long, please?
Exactly. That's our wish. If we wish for anything,
that's what I would like.
If you guys make another one, we just need a little more Nia Long, because she was her moments were too short, but they were great.
And then last thing I'll ask you is there's a moment towards the end of the film where Laura London's character checks Julia Louis-Dreyfus' character about tokenism and about what it is to be a Black woman. I'm not your toy. And that was a big conversation to have. And then you see Julia, we call it the white tears. She's like, oh my God, as if she's the victim. And she checks her again. And I think that's when I said earlier, it's tough to have that conversation, because when you're checking somebody, they're emotional, they're sensitive. But it was like, no. You don't get to be this. You need to hear me right now. And I love that. That spoke volumes. And I wanted to see what you think about that scene. And, I
thought it was great. And I thought, Jonah Hill had just gone through the same thing with Eddie Murphy, where he essentially tells him, you're an asshole. And, I've done nothing but love your daughter, probably the best she's ever been loved in her life. And you just tried to make a way to destroy it because you didn't want to see me with her. You'd rather see her with somebody who makes her unhappy, as long as they're Black, So I think he has that conversation, and she has her conversation with his mother. But I thought it was necessary, because she'd been biting her tongue the entirety of this film with both of his parents saying things that were like disrespectful and inappropriate. But to them, they were like, I'm just trying to connect with you because I like Black people too, So it was like, for her, it was like the end of the line. She had to draw a line in the sand. She had to just. No tears for you, because you've put me in an awkward situation for the entirety of this relationship. So you don't get to cry. You have to sit there and listen to what I have to say, like you said.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times we may do that in any relationship we've been in, where we don't want to offend the person because we're afraid of the person we love being like, yo, you said that to my mom, but you said that to so-and-so. Like, that's a part of me. And I'm like, well, I can only be disrespected for so long, right? It's like, I got to speak up for myself. And so I really, really love that moment. Especially for anybody who's going through that currently in their lives. Like, I know it's tough, but you got to speak your piece. But I love that there was a moment at the end where it's like that self-reflection, like, oh shit, I messed up here. How can I fix this?
But to that point, I also thought it was interesting that they showed that kind of struggle in their own relationship too. Yeah. Where Jonah Hill's character was more like, we never have to talk to either of our parents again.
Yeah,
Like, they're going to ruin our relationship.
no.
I'm happy to throw them away. And
Yeah.
she was more like the one who would kind of dig at Jonah
Lucky,
Hill and then take the side of her parents because she didn't want to disappoint them and she loved them. So it was interesting to see that battle in their personal relationship too, and see them try and overcome all of the things they were dealing with externally and then all the things they were dealing with in their personal lives, like her career. And that was interesting too, right? How they kept playing on the conversation of his lack of understanding that she's had to fight for everything she's had, and he's been given opportunities, whether he understands he's been given those opportunities or not. His whiteness has allowed open doors to open for him that wouldn't necessarily ever open for her, and she didn't need a handout from him. She wanted to earn the things that the accolades of her career. She didn't want them on the heels of him being able to call in a favor to his friends. Like, so I thought that was an interesting play on how that kind of circumstance can also affect an interracial relationship. So they touched on a lot of points in this film that I thought were really great.
I'm letting the friend call for me. Yeah.
I would have let out. I was sitting there going, I would let him.
Yeah, I'm letting. Come on, what are we talking about, Rob?
I was like, call away.
2023. What are we talking about?
I was like, how quickly do you think he'll respond?
You think you can right now? What are you doing?
But I understand.
Pride has killed more people than anything in the world.
Yes, but I know a lot of people who walk in that pride, and I think it's interesting to get to see it, in that form. So some people might look at it and go, "Is that me? Am I that prideful? Have I let opportunity slip?"
I mean, I don't even think the people with that level of pride do that much self-reflection.
Well, maybe a lot of film will help them to a place of self-reflection, Ro.
And that's what this movie does, ladies and gentlemen. That's what this movie does. So before we end the show, hey, this is great. This time went fast. I want to shout out, rest in peace to Nipsey Hussle. You hear his song in the movie. You also see there's a scene where they show Slauson Avenue. So shout out. I mean, Laura London held him down in the movie. Also her different looks. So if you're looking for new ways to kind of wear the hair, outfits, I mean, it's all there in the movie. So I really had a good time. I love this question, everybody. I think he's back. Rob is back. Rob, what do you give this movie rating, Robbie? What are you giving him, buddy? You giving 20s, 10s? What are you doing, buddy?
Ro, I'm going to give this movie a 10 out of 10, but 10 out of 10. It's a 10 out of 10. But only because it's phenomenal and it had a stellar cast, and I laughed from the beginning of the film to the end of the film. It's Kenya Barris, who can't do wrong in my opinion. Jonah Hill, who's absolutely hilarious. You had the return of Lauren London. I'm so happy to see her in a project. Nia Long, Eddie Murphy was hilarious. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, come on, David Duchovny. It was such a step.
They knocked it out of the park.
Everybody knocked it out of the park. When I tell you they knocked it out of the park, I literally turned the movie off and I was like, I wish it was like an hour longer. It was that funny.
Nia Long, you could have gave me 20 minutes. Nia Long, 20 more minutes.
No, give Nia Long 20 more minutes in this movie. Let's do it. Because I literally
give Nia Long 20 more minutes.
I don't quite often walk away from a film going, I could have sat for another hour, but for this one, I absolutely did. I was like, I could have laughed for another hour. I could have been on that roller coaster ride a little longer. It was fun.
Good vibe. So again, this is what we do here. We review movies, review shows coming up, docs, all that kind of stuff. If you have a recommendation, please let us know. We try to keep it current, so we're still in the vibe and the mood. Oscars are coming up soon, so we're gonna figure that out. What we're gonna do. There's some that's a big conversation about some people that didn't get nominated, but that's another episode. We ain't got time for that. But we got talk. They didn't want to sit through that. I know they didn't want to sit through that.
They were reading that piece of paper going, oh boy.
That guilt was gonna come through the pages. Ooh. Either one of those movies.
They were like, we're gonna hear about this.
We're gonna hear about this today. Anyway, every Thursday, 9:30, it's Rewind with Ro. This is my amazing co-host, Rob. We'll be here. Last thing I'll say, thank you for tuning in. And tell a friend. Tell a friend to tell a friend.
Tell a friend or two.
And you can comment on the bottom. You can say whatever you want. Keep it going. Any last words, Rob?
No, just appreciate it, and let's pick another good movie, so I don't have to give somebody a 5 or a 4. I want to keep giving 10 out of 10s.
All
Keep
right,
the good
everybody.
movies coming, bro. Keep the good movies coming.
You too. You people on Netflix right now, #1 movie on Netflix. Check it out. Amazing cast. Rob recommends it. What more you got to say? Check it out. All right, everybody. Thank you for your time. Have a good night.
Peace.